Good morning. What a beautiful morning it is. I just love summer mornings, sun shining. What a beautiful day. Talking about one-hit wonders one more time. Yes, absolutely. Love one-hit wonders. And for our Houston friends, we're not going to talk about some one-hit wonders like James Harden and J.J. Watts. We're not going to talk about those one-hit wonders. We're going to talk about good one-hit wonders. Y'all supposed to get mad at that, or y'all just that exhausted, like I don't care, whatever. Stay on. One-hit wonders. I remember being in 8th grade listening to a song, and I heard it, and I was so excited that I heard it that I had to go talk to my dad about it. And so I ran up to my dad, and I said, "Pop, I heard this song I want to tell you about. I think it's a one-hit wonder, but it's really good. I don't know the name of it." He's like, "All right, well, sing a little bit of it." I said, "Okay, she's just a small town girl living in a lonely world." And he was like, "Son, that's not a one-hit wonder." That's I Can't Stop Believing. Don't Stop Believing by Journey. That's one of the greatest songs ever written. And I was like, "But did they write other things?" Yes, they wrote a lot of other things. And now I own the greatest hits of Journey in my house. And sometimes a one-hit wonder is just a one-hit wonder to you because you don't know. And that one-hit wonder opens up a door to a whole bunch of other great things that you didn't know about. And so hopefully that one-hit wonder is like a one-hit wonder that we're going to talk today. Let's go to Luke chapter 23. We're going to talk about a thief on a cross. Now, the reason why this is a one-hit wonder, because this is the only time that Jesus and this thief, he had a conversation with two people on the cross. And this is found in Luke 23, verse 32. Open up our Bibles. You can also read it up here. We're going to start with verse 32. 2 other men, both criminals, were led also with Jesus to be executed. When they came to the place called the Skull, they crucified Jesus there along with the criminals, one on his right and one on his left. Jesus said, "Father, forgive them, for they do not know what they are doing." And they divided up his clothing and by casting lots. The people stood watching, and the rulers even sneered at him. They said, "He saved others. Let him save himself, if he's God's Messiah, the chosen one." The soldiers came up and also mocked him. They offered him wine vinegar and said, "If you are the king of the Jews, save yourself." There was also a written notice above him which said, "This is the king of the Jews." Verse 39. One of the criminals who hung there also hurled insults at him. "Aren't you the Messiah? Save yourselves and us." But the other criminal rebuked him. He said, "Don't you fear God?" He said, "Since you are under the same sentence, we are punished justly, for we are getting what we deserve. But this man has done nothing wrong." And then he said, "Jesus, remember me in your kingdom." And Jesus answered him, "Truly I tell you, today you will be with me in paradise." Verse 44, it was now noon, and darkness came over the whole land until 3 p.m, for the sun stopped shining, and the curtain of the temple was torn in two. And Jesus called in a loud voice, "Father, into your hands I commit my spirit." And he said this, and he breathed his last. That thief on the cross is an amazing one-hit wonder to me. He's amazing, well, not because of, he's in some of the other Gospels, but because this was probably the first time in his life he got something right. This is probably the first time in his life. He's not hanging there because he had a series of misfortunate events. He's hanging there because he's guilty of a crime, and he participated in crime probably his whole life, to the point where they were like, "Oh, slap on the wrist. First offense. Second offense. Oh, harder slap on the wrist. No, third offense, you're going to die." That escalated quickly, but that was Roman culture. And so he is there because of bad decisions he has made. And the reason why I think this one-hit wonder is so special is because he's looking at Jesus, and for the first time in his life, he gets something correct. He begs Jesus to forgive him. 3 things about the thief, the criminal on the cross. The good criminal. We got a good criminal and we got a bad criminal. 3 things about the good criminal that we need to know. One is he's a criminal. He is there because he did things wrong. He is crucified next to Jesus, and he brought into paradise at his death alongside Jesus himself. That's quite a resume for a guy who's just missioned once. Not only did he go to Jesus, he walked in with Jesus. That's pretty impressive. 3 takeaways that I think we can take from this one-hit wonder. First is we focus on the answer. The criminals on the cross had a lot of similarities. They both were found guilty of a crime. They both were sentenced to die publicly for committing that crime, and they both asked Jesus a question. The only difference is between them is one, the bad one, was asking Jesus a question, and while I think the other one, the good one, was looking at Jesus with his question. He was looking at him. What I mean different by that is this. The bad thief, the one that said, aren't you the Messiah? Save yourself and us. Another way of asking that, in my opinion, is he was really asking, God, you owe me. I have done all of these things, but you owe me for the actions that I have done. Where were you? Why aren't you saving this? Why is this happening to me? I deserve answers. And before we start casting stones at this bad guy, at this bad cross right here, I know with me, I've asked some of those questions. God, where are you when things go wrong? God, when my car, when we have car trouble, God, where are you in that car trouble? Or when things go wrong or rough in my marriage, we get in rocky spots, I look at God, God, where are you? Most nearest time is when I was in, some people don't know this, when I moved here, I didn't move and I didn't start working for the church right away. I first started to go work at a drug warehouse as, I call it a cigarette dealer. That's what I did, I was a guy who passed out cigarettes. It was the only job that would hire me, believe it or not. I applied for Walmart, Stalker. I applied for all these other jobs, QT, midnight, anytime. No one hired me. I could not figure out why, and that's the only job I could get. And I was to the end of my rope. And I remember being at First Baptist Church parking lot in Owasso, looking at God and going, where are you? I don't think I moved to Tulsa to deal cigarettes my life. Where are you? And just brink of frustration in every which way. And I remember being that bad thief looking at God and go, you owe me. You owe me, God. Where are you? If you're truly God, save yourself and save me. That's how I know you're truly God. There, I put out a fleece. Don't knock me because I'm honest. We've all been there. We have all been that bad criminal going, you owe me, God. He was looking for answers. God, you broke up my marriage. God, you made me sick when you could have healed me. God, you are responsible for my actions. While the good thief asked Jesus this, he looked at Jesus and he said, remember me in your kingdom. That's profound, different to me. He didn't ask for answers. He focused on the answer. He knew he's responsible for everything that happened to him. I'm up here because of my actions. And so when that thief was going here and say, save us, he looks at him and says, don't you fear God? We're up here because of the actions we have done. And this guy's not. This guy is innocent in every which way. And then for the first time in his life, this one-hit wonder hits a one-hit wonder, and he says, Jesus, please remember me in your kingdom. What a great question. If you have one final question, that's the best question to ask. He was looking at the answer. It's like he's saying that third verse from It Is Well With My Soul. Oh, the bliss of this glorious thought. The bliss not in part, but in whole, is nailed to a cross, and God, I bear it no more. Praise the Lord, oh my soul. And that's what he was singing. He was looking at the answers. The answer to, I believe, any question can be fixed with Jesus. How do I get over the things that happened to me in my past? Get closer to Jesus and his community. How do I fix my marriage? Get closer to Jesus and his community. How do I get ahead in life? Get close to Jesus and his community. What is the meaning of life? When I was a college minister at TU, I got asked that question probably once a week. They were curious, what's the meaning of life? And I would answer, Jesus. That's the meaning of life. He's the meaning. He's the whole reason I'm here. And they're like, well, Jesus can't fix every problem. I'm like, I beg to differ. I believe he can. Amen. I believe Jesus can fix every problem. And a guy called me an idiot, and I said, I would rather be an idiot for Jesus than thinking I can fix everything I can. And I said, who's the one who's happy in life? I said, and I got to talk to him. When I was talking to him, I said, were you the one who was abused as a kid? No. Were you the one who was in drugs and alcohol? No. Were you the one? No. Then why am I smiling and you're not? If it's working out for you, why is it not working out for you? And he got really quiet. We ended up baptizing that kid. It's because we're looking at the answer. Jesus is the answer. You want to know how to love your wife? Ask Jesus, and he will show you what love looks like. Everything. There isn't a problem in this world that getting closer to Jesus and his community cannot fix. C.S. Lewis said this, I know, Lord, why you utter no answer. Because you yourself are the answer. Before our face questions die away, what other answer could suffice? He said it the only way I believe C.S. Lewis could say it. The second thing we got to do is focus on forgiveness. Forgiveness is something I honestly struggled with, not because I'm ashamed to take blame. On the contrary, I actually like taking blame. If it's my fault, I want to be the person. Maybe you're like me. I'm like, yes, my fault. I can fix it. That's an easy fix because I'm in control. The problem is with forgiveness is not trusting God with my judgment. That's my problem with forgiveness. Because when we let go, we're actually trusting God with the outcome of that decision. And that's frustrating to me. I had a really hard time with it. When I wanted satisfaction in making the right and justified case of my cause, I realized that when I control things in forgiveness, when I say I forgive, but I still hold on strings, that's not forgiveness, guys. That's called manipulation. And it's actually a sin. Because it's going, God, I trust you, but I don't trust you with this. It's a double thing. It's a double way. It doesn't make sense. We have to forgive. We have to forgive one another. And forgiveness is one of those things I truly had no idea how to do it. No clue. When I was 23 years old, the guy was talking about that I should forgive the guy who abused me as a kid. I was looking at it like, I have no clue where to go with this. I have no clue where to go. I have no clue where to take it. I have no clue what to do. I don't know where to begin. I don't know where it could end. I don't know how it would I meet him again? I don't know. All of these components scared me to where I honestly thought it was easier bottling everything up than face what happened. And I bottled up for 23 years, and it didn't end very well in any which way. It led me down a path that was not working out for me in any which way. Forgiveness, I believe, can be summed up in one action: release. Release. That's it. The only thing I can control in forgiveness is my release. Forgiveness releases the hurt, anger, pain, bitterness that I had bottled up for so many years. And when you release and you let go, it's the most glorifying and wonderful thing in the world. Now, some forgiveness misconceptions, okay? There's some things that when you talk about forgiveness, people think, oh, this is what we got to do. Well, first off, people think, oh, it's easy. No. Forgiveness is the hardest thing to do in the world, all right? No, it is not easy. It is super hard. You're going to need your friends, you're going to need your God, you're going to need your loved ones, you're going to need your family to get through it. No way, shape, or form is someone going to say, hey, this is a brand new car, it's $1, all right? It's a fake. It is hard. It is hard, but it is worth it. Some other forgiveness misconceptions is I shouldn't be angry anymore. Did you know that's a lie? I was abused as a kid. And because of that, people think, oh, well, you shouldn't be angry anymore. I'm not angry at the guy who did it. But when I hear of someone taking advantage of a child, I cannot help but get frustrated and angry. And I believe it is that anger in our lives that moves us to act. I believe anger can actually be a glorious, wonderful thing when it's used with God. God used wrath a lot. And instead, what the church is doing today is saying, well, it's easier not to be angry at all. And that's a lie, too. Because it's that anger is what motivates us. If it motivates you to anything other than love, guess what? That anger is not from God. It's not from God. It's okay to be upset. It's okay to move forward and still say you are forgiving. You can do it. That's a misconception. Another misconception is that it's a one-time action. That's the biggest lie I have ever heard. Forgiveness is not a one-time action. It is sometimes an every second action, all right? I remember being, when I was first coming to, and not even for things that were big in my life. Sometimes it's Kelsey saying she was going to do one thing, and then she ended up doing another for benefit of our family. We're going to go to the park. Oh, great, we're going to go to the park. Awesome. And at the last moment, we go to the zoo. For some strange reason, that irritated me. I was like, what? The zoo? I don't want to go to the zoo. It's ridiculous stuff, but that's where I was. Forgiveness isn't a one-time action. I had to check, and the person, and that wasn't forgiveness for changing the plans or anything like that, but it was just a time of looking at it and going, things changed and things moved up, and therefore it frustrated me. Sometimes when I forgive, it happens every 30 seconds, every minute at least 5 minutes, sometimes go back to a minute, sometimes 10 minutes. Sometimes forgiveness is one of those things you're going to have to do quite a bit. You're going to have to let go. And if you're having a problem with forgiveness right now, this is my advice to you. This is what I did. It was one of the greatest things that I have ever done. I mentioned that action, what happened to me. I mentioned all my hurt and my anger and my pain and my frustration with it. And then I let go. It was a great physical reminder for me because I remember it was gone. And then when things would rile up, hey, you're mad at this in your life, you're mad at this in your life, you do this, you do that, whatever it is, I would go, I let it go. And therefore, I'm not going to pick that up again. It was a great physical reminder. Another forgiveness misconception, and the last one, is it cannot be done alone. The church thinks that we can be spiritual Rambos. You know what a Rambo is? I know I'm speaking to young guys. Rambo was this guy who's a one-man army that could go in and destroy everyone, who's my hero growing up. And a lot of people think, I can do this without my community and my church around you. And that is not how God set it up. God did not give you all this ammunition and go, do it. He didn't do that. God gave us all of this ammo to be done with each other. Forgiveness is meant to be done in community. It's meant to be done. Holding a grudge does not make us strong, it makes us weak and bitter. And forgiveness does not make us weak, it sets us free. We need to forgive the inexcusable in others because God forgave the inexcusable in us. And that's what this one-hit wonder got. I hear this a lot, and maybe you do too. Only God can judge me. Have you heard that saying? I've heard that. I've heard that in the college campuses. I've heard only God could judge me. And I'm like, that should scare you. That right there is the most terrifying thought in the world. I'd much rather the whole world judge me and not him. I just think that's really funny. We have to do what he says. The thief on the cross that asked Jesus to remember him, because it was only Jesus who could remember him after his death. Jesus is the only one who could help us forgive. And if you need help with forgiving, there's a wonderful thing that happens Friday nights here called Celebrate Recovery. And it is a wonderful, wonderful thing if you need help to let go, because it's full of community that are people trying to let go. Park Plaza is not a place that people who have their lives together come together and we just celebrate. Park Plaza is a place where the problems of the world meets the power of God. That's what this place is. The third thing that we need to do is focus on the eternal. Francis Chan said this: lukewarm people think about earth much more than they think about eternity. Why can I not put things in perspective the way they need to be put in perspective? The bad thief that complained and criticized Jesus saying, save me from my consequences of sin. While the good The good criminal on the cross looked at him and said, Jesus, save me from my sin. Why can't I have that perspective? To know a holy God and a holy life and how dreadful and terrible it is to be without him. You know, there's people in this world right now that we think that hell is one of those things that are eternal. That's not. People can live in their own personal hells today, right now. And I believe it's the church's job to go in and go, you don't have to live that way any longer. You can be set free. An interesting little story. It's in Matthew 7:21 says this. Not everyone who says to me, this is Jesus talking, by the way, verse 21. Not everyone who says to me, Lord, Lord, will enter the kingdom of heaven, but only the one who does the will of my Father who is in heaven. Many will say to me on that last day, Lord, Lord, did we not prophesy in your name and drive out demons and perform many miracles? Then I will tell them plainly, I never knew you. Away from me, you evildoer. Jesus doesn't owe me a thing. In fact, if we're not doing his will, he's not even going to acknowledge you. And that scares me. What's his will? Let's slide over to Luke 19:9. Jesus says to him, today salvation has come to this house, because this man too was a son of Abraham. For the Son of Man came to seek and save the lost. Another verse, John 6:40 says this, for my Father's will is that everyone who looks to the Son and believes in him shall have everlasting life, and I will raise them up on the last day. You know, does Jesus leave the thief on the cross hanging when he says, remember me in your kingdom? No. He looks at Jesus. When I wrote that, I kind of thought that was funny. No, he didn't leave him hanging. He looks at him and Jesus says, truly I tell you, you will be with me in paradise. What he's wanting, he's going to get. And while hanging on the cross, Jesus' last breath was about saving souls around him. Jesus didn't owe anyone anything, and yet he said, God, your will, not mine. You will be with me in heaven. When we look at it internal, we get a bigger glimpse of the world around us and ourselves. And the last glimpse of the good thief on the cross of Jesus was this. Luke 23:44 says this. It was noon and darkness came over the land until 3 p.m, where the sun stopped shining and the curtain of the temple was torn in two. Jesus called out in a loud voice, Father, into your hands I commit my spirit. And when he did this, he breathed his last. Mark 5:34 says it happened a little differently. About 3 p.m, Jesus cried out in a loud voice, Eloi, Eloi, lama sabachthani. I didn't do that right. I'm not a Hebrew scholar at all. Which means, my God, why have you forsaken me? This always puzzled me why Jesus would say this. It seemed like a guy who was so sure about what he needed to do and how he needed to do it. That's a weird last choice of last words. That seemed like it was a very strange thing to me. When I was an atheist, I actually used it as an argument that the Bible contradicted itself, because Jesus on his last moments was looking at God and going, where are you? Dead. And I said, anytime you ask God a question, you'll die. And that's what I really, truly, honestly thought as an atheist. It's wrong, but that's what I thought. Until I did some more digging and I realized that Jesus wasn't questioning God. He wasn't screaming at God, why? I honestly believe Jesus was trying to sing. Don't believe me? Go to Psalm 22. David wrote this 1,000 years before Jesus was crucified. Today, that wouldn't be something that was written in 1990 or 1900 or 1775 or 1500 or 1400. That'd be something written today in 1016 AD. David wrote this. Psalm 22, right before the verse 1, it says, from the director of music to the tune of the doe of the morning, a psalm of David. It starts off very familiar. My God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from saving me, so far from my cries of anguish? My God, I cry out by day, but you do not answer, and by night I find no rest. Yet you are enthroned as the Holy One, and you are the one Israel praises. In your ancestors we put our trust. They trusted you, you delivered them. To them they cried out and were saved, and they were trusted with you by put to shame. But I am a worm, not a man. Scorned by everyone despise me. All who see me mock me. They hurl their insults and shake their heads. He trusts the Lord, they said. Let the Lord rescue him. Let him deliver him, since he delights in him so much. Does that little bit sound a little bit familiar? We're about to get a little bit more crazy, all right? Yet he brought me out of the womb. You made me trust even at my mother's breast. Verse 10, from birth I was cast on you. From my mother's womb you have been my God. Be not far from me. For trouble is near. There is no one around me. Many bulls surround me. Strong bulls of Bashan encircle me. Verse 13, roaring lions that tear their prey open their mouths against me. And I am poured out like water. And all my bones are out of joint. And my heart has turned to wax. And it is melted within me. My mouth is dried to the potsherd. My tongue sticks to the roof of my mouth. You lay me in the dust of death. Dogs surround me. A pack of evil men encircle me. They pierced my hands and my feet. All my bones are on display, and the people gloat over me. They divide my clothing among them and cast lots for my clothes. But you, O Lord, be not far from me, for you are my strength. You are quickly there to help me. Deliver me from the sword, my precious life from the power of these dogs. Rescue me from the mouths of lions. Save me from the horns of wild oxen. I will declare your name to a people. In assembly I will praise you. You who fear the Lord, praise him. All the descendants of Jacob honor him, revere him, and all the descendants of Israel. For he has not despised or scorned the suffering of this afflicted one. He has not hidden his face from him. He has listened to his cry for help. For he comes with the theme of praise in the great assembly. Before those who fear him, I will fulfill my vow, and the poor will eat and be satisfied. Those who seek the Lord will praise him. May our hearts live forever. And at the end of the earth, you will remember and turn to God. You and your families and the nations will bow down before the Lord. For dominion belongs to the Lord, and he rules over nations. All the rich of earth will feast and worship and go down to the dust and kneel before him. Those who cannot keep themselves alive, posterity will serve him. Future generations will be told about him. They will proclaim his greatness and declare to a world yet unborn, for he has done it. Psalm 22. Come on. That's 1,000 years before Jesus was on a cross. How do you not go, how did he do that? How did David write about something that hasn't even happened yet with such clarity and such precise action? How can that happen? It's called prophecy. Jesus said that on a cross because he wanted us to go right there. He wanted us to look at it and go, I did it. I did it. And I did it for you to glorify him. The thief on the cross means this today. Anyone can focus on the answer, Jesus. Anyone can forgive and be forgiven with Jesus. And anyone can have an eternal perspective because of Jesus. And if you want that focus, and if you want what Jesus is offering here to this one-hit wonder, because he did not leave disgruntled, he left satisfied. Come forward as we stand and as we sing.